I want to highlight that for just a second because I don't think people understand this enough. You were already in the industry, so you could figure out what their problem. I mean, technically, they were coming to you with their problems and you were fixing them. A lot of people are like sitting at home by themselves looking around going, what's a good business? But
Hmm.
if you just dive in like you did or freelance or just sort of immerse yourself in an industry, it's way easier to listen because people are actually talking to you instead of sitting there by
Yes,
yourself because that's huge.
totally. Engagement brings clarity. And yeah, I'm a big fan of thought and planning and deliberation. And at some point, you just get to the limits of your knowledge and you do need to dive in and interact with people and then, or interact with markets, especially. I mean, markets are made up of people, but interact with people who are in your market and you learn so much so quickly. And it actually combines with what I was saying earlier about the lean idea because um, if you have a product idea or a business idea and you spend a lot of money to set it up and then you start interacting with the market, it's very likely that you'll discover that what you set up is at least partially not what they want. I've never spent a lot of money in that way, but I have, like I said, had ideas and then had to change uh, very quickly and realize, okay, I thought they wanted, the raw material version, but they actually want the finished version. Okay, that's cool. We can do that, but I'm glad that I didn't like buy a truckload of that before I started selling it. And over and over, that has come true. So listen to, it's just kind of like human relationships. Like you don't know what somebody's thinking unless you listen, and you don't know what customers want unless you listen. So yeah, engage, um, get in the mix with them, and money in the bank at
They'll
the
tell
end.
you. See, I think this is so important. Going through your whole life cycle is really interesting. So, as you talked at the beginning, money was the first most important. You had kids, you had to get to a level. It's like
Hmm.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You have to get to this certain level before you can start figuring out what do I want to do with my life. And as you went through, like step by step for your businesses, you're like, no, 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 it's not the business that gets me excited. It's the creativity and the curiosity of solving a
Hmm.
problem. And then when you
Yes.
realized you were doing the opposite and you were just managing the businesses, you're like, no, I don't want this. But it's so funny how you have to sort of go through that to figure that out. Entrepreneurship is the best way to for personal growth ever. So
That's true. That's really true. Yeah, you really good observations there, and you're absolutely right about the personal growth element. That I had these businesses that were growing, and they kind of take on a life of their own. Customers respond and place orders, and you've got to fill them. You've got to hire people to fill those orders. Now you've got to manage people. There's just so many like demands of reality. Maybe demand is a little bit strong word, but requirements and expectations that reality brought as a result of those businesses growing. And I mean, I was in my 20s. I was not a wise or experienced person. I'm still not a wise or experienced person. And I had a lot to learn and I had a lot of personal shortcomings that business put pressure on, where it was like,